Yog, Yoga, Yoga. Three teachers, one letter, three different sounds. And if you have been chanting for years and you still could not tell me which of those is correct, I want you to hear this clearly. This is not your fault. Nobody told you. Most people who chant have never been told. And I will say this plainly that many of the people teaching this to millions of followers have never been told either. So, today we are going to do something a little strange for a video. One sound. That is the whole video. The first sound of Sanskrit alphabet. The sound that opens Om. The sound sitting quietly inside almost every mantra you have ever chanted. And we are going to go slowly and we are going to go deep. And I'm not going to apologize for how nerdy this gets, because this is how we actually look at a letter in Siddha Dharma tradition that I come from, the living Siddha Tantra tradition of Himalayas. One letter and we take our time with it. And before we finish, I'm going to show you something about Om Namah Shivaya that may bother you a little. Most people chanting it are certain that they are bowing to Shiva, and they mean to. But the way the sound is actually leaving their mouth, that bow is not landing where they think it is. I'll show you exactly where it goes. Stay with me to that part. First, let us meet it. The sound is A, written as A, and we call it the first letter of the alphabet. But here it is not really a letter you write. It is the first vibration, the one every other sound is born out of. And try it with me. Open your mouth and just let your voice out, and do not try to shape it into anything. Notice what did not happen. Your lips did not move. Your tongue did not move. Nothing tightened and nothing closed. That is the sound. That is the voice before it becomes anything. And it is already living inside every consonant you will ever speak. And you cannot say K without it. You cannot say Ma without it. It is in there holding them up. So when we ask how to pronounce it, we are not asking a small question about spelling. We are asking what the very first movement of your voice actually is, and how faithfully you can meet it. Now here is the piece that I find almost nobody has been given, and it changes everything else. You have probably been taught that there is a short A and a long A in Hindi or Sanskrit alphabet, not in English. And you were likely assumed the long one is just the short one held longer. Something like A and A. And I'll say it plainly, that is not correct. They are two different sounds, two different shapes of the mouth. Not one sound at two different speed. The long one, the longer A, is wide open. Mouth relaxed, spacious, like the middle of the word father. Bright and unmistakable. Ah, as in father. Ah. But the short one was never meant to be a tiny version of that. Now listen. A. Softer, closer, rounder, and almost gathered shut. This lives much nearer to the U in cup or U in butt, and it is different than open A of father. Now the Siddhas and Rishis who mapped these sounds knew this exactly. They described the short one as gentle and gathered, the mouth barely opening, and the long one as fully open. Very different doors. Say them one after the other with me and feel your own mouth change shape. A, ah, a, ah. Now, did you feel that? That is not one sound getting longer. No, it is not ah and ah. No, it is not that. It is a, ah, a, ah, a, ah. Now, the moment you get to know this, you start hearing something elsewhere. The same sound said differently by different people, different teachers, different videos, different recordings. And for a sincere seeker who is trying to get it right, that is genuinely confusing. So let me give you the frame we use, and it will settle a lot of this for you. There is a target, and there is a range. The target for the short sound is that soft, gathered, almost closed tone, the one that stays close in the mouth. That is what the old science of sound points at. But around that target, there is a living range. A teacher's opens a little more. Another teacher's sits deeper, resonating in the chest. And that is what happens when a sound is carried in living mouths across generation, across regions. Then it breathes, it has a family of voices. And a lot of that range is also simply geography. In the south of India, the tradition holds every sound in place. Nothing is dropped. Every syllable sounded fully to the end. And sometimes, to make very sure nothing is lost, the ending gets a little exaggerated, sometimes a little too exaggerated. Almost Rama instead of Rama. And on the other hand, in the north of India, that same sound tends to grow lighter, softer, more inward, and sometimes barely breathed. And sometimes it disappears altogether. Yog, mantra. Now look at what each one is protecting. The south of India keeps every sound. The north of India keeps the softness. Now both of them are guarding something real, and the true sound lives right between them. Every syllable present, the way the south keeps it, and soft and gathered, the way the north colors it, full and quiet at the same time. And I want to be careful here because I'm not here to correct anybody. These are regional traditions with their own beauty and their own reasons. Well, at least in the cases where they actually are solid traditions. What I'm giving you is where the sound sits in the science of it, so that you know what you are aiming at. Now let me make this completely simple with 3 words. The 3 words you have said many times already. Yoga, mantra, tantra. Listen to how many ways you have heard just these 3. Some say yoga, mantra, tantra, the ending clipped off clean. Sometimes I also say that. Some go to the other way and lean on it. Yoga, mantra, tantra, opening it wide, holding it long. And then right in the middle there is the true one. Yoga, mantra, tantra, where that final is a soft, short, gentle, barely open, very present and light. Now say them with me. Yog, too little. Yoga, too much. Yoga, right there. Feel how that last one just rests. Yoga, soft, short and alive. Now that is the sound. And if you had never been shown that, you could chant for 20 years and never know. That is the point of this whole video. So why would anyone pour this much attention into one vowel? Well, because in Siddha Dharma and with us in Siddha Tantra arts, sound is never only sound. And this one, the first of them all, is a doorway into an entire vision. That soft, short, almost silent the one that barely opens, that rests close and quiet. We see it as the source, the still point, the unstruck ground before anything moves. Now it has no name yet, it wants nothing, it is simply there, whole, complete, and awake at rest. And that is Shiva. And then something turns. That light tilts very slightly to behold its own radiance. And in that instance, it tastes itself. Then it floods with delight. That is when the short sound opens out into the long open Ah. The first movement, the first thrill of awareness meeting itself, and the bliss that pours out of it. Oh, and then Ah, Ah. And that is Shakti, the Divine Mother, born the moment the light smiles at its own shining. So there were never two things placed side by side. There is the light and there is the light's own joy in itself. And they are already embracing inside the first two sounds of the alphabet, Shiv and Shakti. The whole of creation held in the difference between a short breath and the long one. That is what is actually in your mouth when you sound that first note. Now, let me keep the promise I made you at the start. You know the great salutation, Namah Shivaya, homage to Shiva. Watch what one vowel does here. Namah Shivaya. That ending is masculine. The vibrational bow lands on Shiva. Namah Shivayai. The genuine change in form. Now the ending is feminine and the bow lands on the divine goddess, Shakti. And then there is what most people are actually doing. That final sound drifts and stretches and it becomes Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. And nobody notices a thing. They believe they are bowing to Shiva, Shiv. They mean to bow to Shiv, and the sound quietly took a bow somewhere else. Now there is also a lovely idea going around that if you stretch that ending, you are addressing the goddess. It is a very beautiful thought. And in many local vernacular traditions, it holds like that. Namah Shivaya is bowing to Shiva and Namah Shivaya bowing to the goddess. So the vowel is not a small thing. Getting it true is what lets you actually know where your bow is landing. Because when you add A to Shiva, it becomes Shiva. And Shiva is how one addresses Shakti also. Shakti's other name is Shiva. Shiv with another A in the end. And if you are paying attention on how I am speaking, you might have heard me say bow to Shiva, not bow to Shiva. And there is a nuance there as well. Now we talked about range and target, right? One can bow down to Shiva, but then also one can bow to Shiva, target Shiva. So depending on what your mantra intention is, one can bow down or one can bow or target towards Shiva. Like that also one can see. If it's just a little change in my own English, one can even see that there is a nuance there as well. Well, now, after all of that care, let me tell you the thing that matters most of all. You travel east in India to Bengal, and the whole vowel world tilts again. Rounder, warmer, and darker even. They will even say my name differently. Not Ashutosh, but Ashutosh. Same name, same person, a completely different music. And I want you to hear this from me. Where they carry the actual spiritual current, the Tantra still works. The current still runs, and thus the blessings still land. The goddess, the Divine Mother, still turns towards her child. Whether the vowel is bright or dark, kept or released, northern style or southern style, or Bengali style. And that is when underneath the sound there is a current. And that spiritual current is older than any accent. That spiritual current is deeper than any region. That type of connection and current, an accent can neither create it nor break it, because it answers to something else. And what aligns you to that spiritual current, that Shakti, is your attention, your longing, and your sincerity. The turning of your whole being towards it. Well then, if all of that is there, then why bother with any of this? Well, here is the answer, and I want you to keep it. The sound is not a password that has to be correct before some door opens. The door is already open. The sound is how you tune yourself to walk through it. When you shape that vowel with care, you are not trying to become correct. You are becoming quiet enough and present enough to feel what is already moving underneath it. A loose sound is usually a loose mind. When the sound gets exact, your attention has to come with it. That is the real reason why we do this. Well, and if you are sitting there thinking, well, I did not grow up with any of this, and I have no idea what is true and what is not, so which pronunciation is even mine to use? Well, then let me say something that I think is more useful than any rule about vowels. The question was never only, am I saying it right? No. The question is, who am I learning it from? Because when you are not born into this, you cannot verify what you are being taught. You are trusting somebody. So the discernment has to move upward, upstream. It has to land on the source. So here are some things worth asking of anyone teaching you, including me. Can they tell you why? Not just what the sound is, but why it is that sound, and show you what it does. If the only answer available is that this is simply how we say it, or there is this book written few thousand years ago and it said that, and they themselves never discovered or realized it, then it's probably not going to support you either. Does the sound connect to a practice? That's something you should ask or contemplate. Anyone can tell you where to put your tongue. There are thousands of videos on YouTube that can tell you how to roll your tongue to speak something in Hindi or Sanskrit. A tradition can tell you what happens or experientially train you to sense it when you sound it and what it opens within you. And then, is the tradition alive? Is there someone who gave it to them and someone they still answer to? A living lineage is a chain you can walk back along. If the chain ends at a book or at a channel, then you are learning about the thing rather than receiving it. Another question you can ask is, can you even ask questions? A tradition with real depth is not afraid of your questions. And I'll be clear with you, because I would rather be clear than flattering. Not every question receives its full answer immediately. No. There are teachings in this tradition that are given according to your preparation, your intention, and where you actually are in the practice. That is because some things simply do not land in an unprepared mind. And giving them early does harm rather than good. So there is a process and there are organic stages. But a real teacher will always tell you that there is more and will teach you the things that makes you more ready for it. What is not constructive is being made to feel foolish for asking or wondering with a sincere heart. And one more thing, because I know how this goes. Most people end up starting to learn with whoever they found first or whoever felt easiest to be around. And that is human, and I understand that. But being easy to reach and being easy to like does not tell you whether someone actually has anything. And the other way is just as bad. Someone can be exactly right about every sound and still leave you cold and at a distance. And you will not stay long enough to learn anything from them. So look for both. Someone you can actually sit with, who also actually knows, and they exist. Do not settle for half. So the next time you sit down and you sound that first note before the mantra, not mantra, before the melody, before anything, just pause there a moment. You do not need to get it perfect. You do not even need to know yet whether this is short or long, open or gathered. That comes with learning. But start noticing. Am I really sounding this, or am I letting it slip away? Everything you just watch now is one letter. And there are many more, 50 more. And on the 25th of July, we sit down together and we do this properly. Not only the sounds and letters, though we do go through them one by one until you can feel each one in your own mouth. We also go into what mantra actually is, how it is structured, how it works on the body and how it works on the mind, and how it is approached in the Siddha tradition, and how you sit with one so that it becomes practice rather than mere repetition. And by the end of that course that starts on 25th, you will be able to chant and talk, pronounce without that quiet doubt in the back of your mind about whether you are saying it wrong or drifting. You will know what you are doing and why, and where it is meant to take you. If that is the kind of learning you have been searching for and not finding, you will find the link to the courses. The sound is the medium, and the current runs underneath it. Meet the sound truly and let it carry you into what is moving underneath. That is where the practice actually begins.